walkthrough, playthrough, review, anything like that. It's just me playing the game badly so you can see what it looks like.
Hello, it's System Overview time, and today I'm pushing the limits of how big a system I can fit in front of the camera while sitting on a chair. This is the Dragon Data Dragon 32, produced in 1982 by Dragon Data of Port Talbot, Wales. It's kind of a clue as to its origins there. It's got the Welsh dragon on the logo. Let's have a look at it. You've got a cartridge port there, which was also used as a adapter. There was an adapter cartridge for fitting disk drives on it. Round the back, what have we got? Power supply, on-off switch, monitor. Now that is a not RG. Is it RGB? I don't know. It will plug into a modern TV, where you have got a standard TV RF out, but that, I believe it's, I don't know if it's composite, I'm not sure what it is, but yes, it will plug into a modern TV, though I haven't got the cable to do it. You've got here, probably can't see, joystick ports, whoops, and what's that? Tape input thing, which is an awkward tape input. You can't just use normal audio leads, you've got to have that 5-pin thingy, and the wiring is slightly different to some other 5-pin thingies that I've got. That, do you know what, I ain't got a clue what that is. Can you see that? Yeah. Printer, duh. Yes, that's a printer socket. Kind of a weird one actually. What can I tell you about this? It is almost a clone of the Tandy Coco, the TRS-80 colour computer. There are some differences. I don't know exactly what they are, but there is some software that you can run Dragon software on the Coco and vice versa. Not a lot. Usually it needs a little bit of converting. I don't know how to do that. I know it can be done. There was a company, Microdeal, who they made their living getting Tandy Coco software, importing it over here, rebranding it. They had the Cuthbert brand, where they just grabbed any old Coco software, and if there was a character in it, they called him Cuthbert. It didn't matter that he looked completely different, or might have been a well-known character on another system. It was kind of laughable, but they did it, and they were reasonably successful with it. The computer itself wasn't especially successful. The CPU was different from the main, most popular, like the 6502 or the Z80. This thing had a Motorola, I've got to look on the screen now to see what it was called, MC6809E, which in terms of raw power was slightly superior, at least to the 6502. But it just didn't matter. Developers didn't want to touch it. It was not easy to convert for. So there wasn't a lot of software for it, compared with, say, the Spectrum or other systems that were knocking around in Britain at the time. If it had had direct compatibility with TRS-80 Coco software, it might have been more successful. I don't think people would have bought it because it was a Coco clone, because I think at the time more people had heard of this than had heard of the Coco, because they were aimed at a different market. But just having more software might have helped. In the end, it was launched in '82 at £199, and I think they probably dropped the price. I don't know when they dropped the price, I'm pretty sure they did. There was a 64K model, because this is 32K, hence Dragon 32. There was a Dragon 64 that was released a while later, just before Dragon Data went bust. There is a variant of this that is made in, or was made in the US, and apparently they're still quite easy to get hold of, and I can't remember the name of it, but they are available over there. Graphically, it's inferior to the Spectrum and pretty much everything else that was around at the time. Coco's made sense in the US because they had this weird graphics mode that used artifacts to create colour, but that didn't work in the UK. So if you wanted a reasonable number of... If you didn't want monochrome, you had to run in low res, and it was chunky, blocky, horrible, and the colours were pretty bloody awful as well. There was this horrible green and a nasty kind of beige colour. So graphically it was pretty nasty. The keyboard kind of feels nice, but I have heard reports of people who say their keyboard is bloody awful and either doesn't respond or responds too much and stuff like that. It's got no lower case. Some software redefined the key characters to create lower case, but in basic mode or in a lot of software it was uppercase only, and that wiped out any chances of getting into the business market or the education market. How it was originally marketed was as a tool for farmers. Oddly, there was some kind of office-ish type, I don't know what it was, database or spreadsheet or whatever, but it was aimed at farmers so they could keep track of their farms and their livestock and their crops, and I don't know. It was promoted that way through some, I don't know if it was a farming TV program or something, but yeah. Build quality is it's quite nice actually. I like it, though. I've got to show you this. The logo is just, it's a piece of glossy paper that's been glued on, and not very well, because that's looks like it's never been stuck down properly. To use, I like it. It's got a character all of its own. Let me show you the joystick. There are loads of peripherals for these things, kind of like the Coco. It was a hobbyist's computer. The standard joystick is that. It's kind of like, it is a non-self-centering analog stick, similar to that one for the, what was it I showed, the Radafin, except it's only got one button, which it sits nicely in the hand. You know, you hold it like that and it works. Though non-self-centering analog is not always a great thing on some games. But there were lots of peripherals for it. It was a good hobbyist computer. There is a thing called the Dragon's Claw that I've never seen. I don't know what it looks like, but it enables the use of some BBC Micro peripherals, and like there were a lot of them. So it is an interesting piece of kit. It's not especially powerful. It's not got fantastic games, but what it has got have a lot of character. They would be very familiar to Tandy Coco owners, I'm sure. It was considered a commercial failure. I mean, it was only around for about 2 years. But it's quite odd, because I remember back in the day, the rich kids had a BBC Micro, or later a Commodore 64. The really rich kids had an Atari 800. But most of the kids, your average working class families, they had a ZX Spectrum. But there were some, and I think I knew about 3 people who had them, who had a Dragon 32. You know, it was in the same market sector as the Spectrum, price-wise probably a little bit more. But it was seen, probably more by parents than the kids themselves, as a proper computer. You know, it's big, it's not actually heavy at all. But, it, you know, it's got a proper keyboard. You look at it and you think, that's a proper computer, not a toy. So from my perspective, it was quite popular. I knew several people who had them. Whether or not that's how other people perceived it, I don't know. The market and the company certainly didn't, because they folded. But there you go. I'm very fond of this. I like it a lot. Dragon 32 from Dragon Data, built in 1982. Thank you for watching.